DCAT jumped in, but
I move to accept the minutes.
okay, do we have a second?
I second.
Okay. Cool. That's enough, right, Christy?
Yes. Or then you take a vote.
Oh, okay. All right. Vote to accept the minutes. Everyone in favor, raise your hand or say aye.
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 Cool. Minutes accepted. Moving on to public comment. We don't have anyone from the public, so we can move on from that section. So the next thing up was kind of the 504 Film Festival, and this will kind of bleed into the next thing with the Crip Camp screening. But I had a meeting last Wednesday with Peter. I can't think of his last name right now. The principal at the high school, and Demaro, I think is the last name. It went really well actually, and he was really into the idea of this like fight for 504 Film Festival. I just realized I didn't send you guys the proposal. I should have done that so you guys could see the actual proposal that I gave to him. But you know, it went really well. We talked about that. We're gonna kind of loop in the media teacher and have another meeting, and probably the film festival realistically probably won't occur until the fall. But we have equipment at DCAT that's usable, and there's, oh, hey, Karen. Oh. Anyway, we have equipment at DCAT that's usable, and editing suites, there's also the same stuff, well, not the same stuff, but there's also equipment and editing suites over at the high school that they can use. It'll kind of be like probably me and the media teacher kind of taking the lead on the festival side of things. Unless any of you want to join in, we could form a subcommittee if we need to, but I don't know if that's really necessary. It could just be something that lives in with us. And you know, I was thinking like, you know, keeping the films 3 to 10 minutes, and then I was thinking of, if it's doable, getting them to be screened at AMC in Danvers. And so I was going to reach out to them once I had the meeting with the media professor and stuff. They do have a decent screen at the high school apparently. So that is an option for us. But other than that, I kind of, and this is sort of a segue into the next section, but I wanted there to be kind of something to kick off the announcement of the film festival for them, to just kind of almost educate them as well. And that would potentially be a screening of Crip Camp, which I talked to the principal about as like kind of like a lead into it, to kind of get the students invested, teach them about 504, and yeah, just kind of give them an idea of what they're actually like making these films about. And maybe it'll touch, you know, the heartstrings of some of them, and they'll feel real passionate about it. Trying to think if there was anything else about that. You know, I'm not sure. I mean, I guess this is something we can all weigh in on, but the idea of like, if we're going to do judges and prizes and stuff like that, I feel like that creates incentive, but I'm not sure what the prizes would actually be. I don't really have like any ideas for that necessarily, so I need some help there. But you know, as far as the judges go, like I'd be happy to be a judge. I'm sure some other people would too. And I kind of like wrote up some judging criteria for that as well. Trying to think if there were any other aspects to it. I guess it's really spring. The lawnmower kids are driving by outside my house right now. These kids always drive up and down the sidewalk on lawnmowers every night. But yeah, so if you guys, anybody have any thoughts on the film festival at all, or any ideas about that? Yeah, either of you, Fawn or.
Go ahead, Christy.
Okay. I was just trying to admit Karen at the same time. I just wanted to say that I last night I went to an event at the Cabot on was books are for reading, not banning, and it was a panel discussion with some librarians, but the first part of it actually was the award ceremony for a high school poster contest about
Oh,
intellectual freedom. So it was a kind of a similar approach. The organization that ran it was called Leading Ladies, and they do kind of social justice and political like work in on the North Shore. Um, I grabbed their flyer for information, so I could always email them and ask them kind of like the structure. My guess is that they share it with actually multiple towns across the North Shore, but obviously we'd want to be focused on Danvers. Um, but their awards were, I think it was $350 for the winner. They
okay.
had smaller cash prizes for the second and third place. But so it wasn't huge, but it still would be something that we would need to find funding for
Yeah, I mean
if we wanted
that's
to
a
do
chunk
that.
for a high school kid, definitely.
Yeah, yeah.
I was also thinking of the Cabot, just thinking in terms of judges, it might be helpful to reach out to them for them to give us some names of local filmmakers that maybe could
Mm,
add to the variety of judges,
Yeah,
so that kids who are entering it would be knowing that their submission is not just being judged on content, but also all the cinematic elements and that might be incentive for them. And since we don't have a budget, I'm not sure about the cash prizes. Maybe we could get people to donate, but I do know from asking for donations around town for various plays and musicals, the local businesses are more than happy to donate
awesome.
gift certificates, and a lot of the kids would probably, it's not the same as cash, no doubt, but they would certainly be excited about a gift certificate for, 25 or $50 to one of the coffee places downtown or one of the pizza places downtown or um, Putnam Pantry for candy or, something like that, ice cream. It's not, again, I recognize it's not the same incentive as cash, but that would be a very low hanging fruit.
mm,
Yeah, it's not a bad idea. I mean, I don't mind doing some fundraising, and I know I could talk to the principal about that, and maybe there could be some aspect of, if you're choosing not to participate in the film festival, you could be, you know, co-opted to be part of a fundraising effort, on the part of the high school kids. Because we definitely want them to carry some of the weight as well. And and then as far as the Cabot, you mentioned you were thinking of that also as a potential screening spot, or just that like they would know
I
the filmmakers.
I hadn't thought of it as a screening spot. I was mostly just thinking they would be a resource for local filmmakers maybe, or people in the film industry locally who might be willing to take part.
Cool, yeah. Yeah, and I'm sure the media teacher will want to be involved as well, on like the judging side of things. Karen, we were just talking about the film festival, by the way, that we're trying to get off the ground at the high school that they seem very game for. The one that we're doing that's kind of like a fight for 504 themed. Um, so we're just kind of like getting together ideas about the cash prizes and the judging and stuff. I do have a full proposal document, but I dropped the ball getting that to you guys before the meeting, so I'll just send it after. Um, but yeah, kind of the aspects of that. I think we're kind of there. I'll probably send out any other information, like if I need help with any of that other stuff, along with the proposal document itself. Um, but yeah, anything else? Any other thoughts on the film festival? Yeah, what's up, Fun?
I just have one other thought. So you had this great meeting with Mr. Demaro, but of course he's no longer going to be at the head as of July 1. Um,
Oh, really?
so
Okay.
yeah, he's the acting principal and they have hired someone new and that person officially starts July 1st. I guess I do recognize that these types of projects always take longer to get going than I ever think should occur, but I know that
Yeah.
my sense of that is completely unrealistic. I guess I am wondering though if there's any way to get at least part of this project off the ground before summer, because otherwise I think you you or whoever's working on this may be starting from absolutely square one again, and a new principal may or may not be able or willing to put the time into this type of thing as they're getting off and running themselves.
Yeah, it's a good point. I mean, I've brought it up at the Danvers Cares meeting as well, which is where the principal and assistant principal will be. So we'll get the next one there. Plus, I also have it with Bauer, Dan Bauer, the superintendent. So I'm kind of covering all my bases, but as soon as that switchover happens, I'll be like right on them to kind of get them involved and kind of be like, it's not really an option at this point. The ball's already rolling, so you're kind of just swept up in it along with us. Um, so
Love
yeah,
it.
I'm not gonna let it get steamrolled by a new principal. But no, that's a good point. So July 1st, so obviously that's right in the middle of summer, school's out at that point. Um, I'll just have to be diligent about getting that contact info.
I have no doubt that you will.
Yeah, what's up, Chrissy?
I just remembered, since I have her card right here, I have the business card of the executive director of the Roxbury International Film Festival that I got when we went to the Amplifying Voices Film Festival at the Cabot. So I
Oh,
have
nice.
that contact info too, which they might be another way to kind of talk to about logistics and finding people to be judges, other resources for us.
Cool. I
So I can
was
pass that info to you.
okay. Yeah, that sounds good. Because I do have a couple contacts around here. I just not sure. I'll reach out to them and kind of see like who they know and who
Cool.
they're working with,
I
because I
I
might have some good people I could suggest around here as well. Um, and then as far as kind of just like getting it going right now, so I have the proposal with them. And then I think once I kind of get this meeting with the media teacher too, like it's gonna start becoming a little more concrete also, because then I'll have her, me, and Greg, which is like all the tech and resource side of things. And so we can get all that kind of in place and just get the ball rolling as far as potentially a Crip Camp screening and then the film festival itself. Um, so with that being said, if there's nothing else anyone has any thoughts about on the film festival, we can move on to the next agenda item, which would be the Crip Camp screening. And I know Amy has an update on that.
I think the film festival, I just want to say, I think it's a great idea. I love the engagement with the community and the students, and I think it'll be great. It'll be really great. So
Hell yeah.
that's my only comment on that. In terms of the Crip Camp screening, I did a little bit of research. At our last meeting, we talked about, feasibility, ideas about how that might potentially happen. And one of the questions that came up was regarding like the rights for the screening. So I did some research on that. And what's really kind of cool is that there's a lot, since this film has been screened in a lot of different places. There's a lot of resources like to be able to host the screening, and they have like a whole guide for doing it, giving you the essentials, and then you can register your screening. And then once you register for that, they give you updated, like any updates to their guide and things like that. Um, the only way that we can stream it or screen it is by streaming it from Netflix, because Netflix has the rights for it. But there's a whole toolkit essentially on how to do it. And there is some guidelines around being able to screen it for educational screenings. There does not appear to be any cost for the rights to screen it, which is really cool too. They do have some guidelines, that it must be for educational screening, and you can do it with under a certain, different ways. Like you could do a one-time screening, or you could hold screenings several times on one day or during one week. Um, but it gives you some guidelines in that way. So we're obviously looking for a one-time screening, which it does permit for educational purposes. There's, certain criteria around that you can't do any fundraising during it. It can't be part of any sort of like campaigns or anything like that, which is not, what we're doing obviously
Right.
anyway. So, um, there's guidelines, but it's pretty cool that they have this opportunity, and then they even give you logistics on like the timeline and how you should invite and like materials and things like that to be able to pull it together, which was really cool. So I did preview it again because as we're talking about, screening potentially, a partnership with the high school and things like that, looking and thinking that, I wanted to have a fresh lens on the documentary itself,
Yeah.
to be sure that, what we are proposing is something that would be in alignment, with what we might think is realistic at the high school. So, there were a couple scenes. There's, a lot of discussion about crabs, kind of spreading. If anybody
Okay.
remembers that particular scene. So there's definitely, discussion of like kind of the sexual part of being at Camp Jeanette and like what that meant. And like for me as an adult thinking how empowering, right? You're looking at individuals with disability in a way that is human and really embracing human sexuality and what that means because of all the loaded stuff that goes along with that. But that was one of the things that kind of perked my ears up in terms of which groups we should consider, which age, like that. I think that'll be important for, if we propose this, where we're going with this, different aspects of that. So.
Yeah, I get it. I mean, I feel like high school is pretty safe as far
Yeah.
as that stuff goes. I feel like we're reading stuff in like our summer reading that was like around that, even
Yep.
maybe in eighth grade. And I mean, it always feels like so protected under the guise of
Right.
education. Obviously, right now is not the easiest time to say that, but that being said, does anybody, I guess before we like say like Crip Camp is the one that we like and want to do, does anybody have any ideas of ones that they thought would be better um, at all? No. Cool. I mean, I'll probably take another look at it as well.
Yeah.
And I also asked the principal and them to kind of take a look at it just to familiarize themselves with it,
Yeah.
make sure they're okay with it. I think I also sent it to Dan Bauer, but I cannot remember. I can double check on that. And I'll be bringing it up now that I have it a little more linked to some other people at the next Danvers Cares meeting, which I think is kind of soonish.
Yeah.
Seems like they're being a little more frequent with them. So great. Any other
And
thoughts or
I was
sorry,
gonna
what were you
say
gonna say?
it was fantastic. Like, I mean, obviously, I've seen it in the past, but we screened it again at home over the weekend because I was like, I need a fresh set of eyes. I'm like, for me as like a parent and as an individual, I'm like, yeah, this is the thing. Um, and I agree with you, but I also would want whoever is we're partnering with to also have eyes on that and give the
Right.
okay. Yeah.
So hopefully they'll actually watch it and get back to me. Um, but yeah, I'll just kind of keep pushing on that really just to make sure it doesn't stall out anywhere. And then I'll just kind of reach out to you guys if I need help or assistance with that, unless you guys have specific thoughts or want or like or really want to take up a role in it as anything, just let me know.
Yeah.
Um, but
I
yeah,
I don't
sorry,
mean to interrupt, but I just got a text that there's somebody in the waiting room.
oh no,
Nope,
we
there
can't.
isn't anybody actually in the waiting
Okay.
room right now.
Okay.
I'm just gonna send that link.
Okay.
Do
Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt.
that's all right. How do we even view the waiting room?
It actually pops up at the top. So I've been letting people in as they've come in. But I don't see
Are
anybody
you
right now,
the
so I'm
are
just
you the host, Christy? Because I haven't seen any of it pop up.
no. Nick might have made me a co-host when I got in
Yeah,
here, though.
Oh, okay, yeah,
that's
because
my
I
new
haven't seen
one.
any of that either.
It was popping up for me, and I don't know why. But I was seeing like that Karen was trying to get in.
Oh,
Yeah,
Okay. Well, I just resent it. So if they are able to make it in, they are.
perfect.
okay. Well, anything else about Crip Camp from anyone, or moving on, or cool. So our next one is if there's anything on the Joint Crisis Response Team. I feel like I gave it to you, Christy, but I feel like we probably both know like that there's not really any.
Right. Yeah. So, I mean, there's not anything new. It's really kind of a ad hoc on call when there's an issue. Like if there's something, then HRIC and our team will just get together then if there's something that needs to be discussed or addressed in the community. I did not make it to last week's HRIC meeting. JD, were you there?
Nope.
I
No,
was
okay.
there.
You were there, Amy.
Yeah.
Was there anything
They
relevant?
didn't discuss anything about that in particular, though there was discussion about they're working on a statement of support in general, given kind of like the current climate that we're in, for, as like a committee kind of putting forth their support for our community and all residents in our community. And so they are working on that. There was some discussion about, and a question that was posed to HRIC about what residents or what could be happening to support any residents that were potentially meeting up with ICE in the community and the presence of ICE in our community, if kind of what that is happening there. There had been a couple different members from HRIC who had met up with Dan Bauer recently, the superintendent, to talk about, and that was part of their conversation, was about students and how students are protected. And, the school committee and the school has made a stance about protecting students, regardless of immigration status, and really focusing their language and messaging on that all students, that all learners are valued and important, and that everyone should be safe in the schools, and kind of that stance. But there wasn't anything in particular that they mentioned about that task force or that response. So
Gotcha. Yeah, because my last interaction with it was you had kind of reached out to Paul, but I never got a response from him. Did you, Christy?
About, well, we had that discussion when we met, and some back and forth over email. He does have people selected from HRIC who would meet up, and we kind of left it as we would have a vote here with our commission, and when there's a need, we would have people ready to meet up. So,
Cool.
yeah, that's where it is. And I am taking notes, by the way. So,
Oh,
for
thank you.
minutes. Yeah.
So, oh yeah, that was the other thing. Okay, I gotta get on top of this next meeting. Um, so that was Joint Crisis Response Team. Next item on the agenda is, Fawn, you had that kind of list of questions for the crosswalk, crosswalk mural. Sorry, this thing was getting in my mouth. If you want to kind of present those, and we can kind of talk about those a little bit.
Sure. So briefly, from a communication perspective, I still haven't heard anything back from anyone at town hall. Not for lack of trying, but I'm also trying not to be that annoying person on the accessibility commission who keeps emailing. When he does reply, he's got lots of information. So I'm hoping that they are setting up a meeting. So these questions would be for that hypothetical meeting with the project manager of this project and also the planning committee members or member. The questions with some of your help that I came up with were what is the timeline of the project and what is the projected launch date for the crosswalk? Meaning, when did they want to have it open and also when did they want to start the project? What are the
Right.
minimum requirements and dimensions of the crosswalk to pass along to the high school art team? How much say can we, meaning Accessibility Commission, and the high school art department have in the final design? And who needs to approve the final design? And lastly, how would the supplies be provided or funded? So I look forward to any additional questions you guys may want to add to that, or if you think some of these questions need to be rephrased or redefined, I appreciate that as well.
I mean, I think what you have there to me sounds kind of perfect because it covers, the crosswalk itself, the dimensions of it, which we'll need for, the high school side of things, the supplies as well. What the timeline is, that's obviously important. When it would be done so that we could decorate it. Yeah, I don't know. That kind of covers everything I can think of, unless we had more information, really, like, who some of the people were, but you're trying to find that out, like who has the final say. Yeah. Anybody else, any thoughts?
Um, if please continue to think or jump in. I guess I'm hoping that maybe in the absence of feedback yet, or in the absence of knowing when the meeting is, I'm hoping that we can maybe spend a small amount of time, and it doesn't have to be tonight, but um, kind of being prepared with a couple ideas of concepts. I fully believe that this should be a project that the art students get probably probably majority say in. I think this should be a real opportunity for them for self-expression, but I wanted to come up with maybe some ideas of what we really would like to see, and an agenda, so to speak, or really just more of a theme of what we're hoping to do. I mean, there are lots of ideas online. There are lots of ways I think to represent the mission that we have, and I would love to go into this meeting with some really clear options to sort of throw out there and just see what they say. And if they give us, a lot of license to direct this, then we would take those ideas directly to Mr. Surratt and the art department and kind of let them go with it. But I don't know what your thoughts are on that. I would love to really let them know that we're not just wanting to be involved in the meeting. We want to be involved in the choice of the graphics and the topics that are presented. So does
Yeah,
anyone
with
have
the
Well, I have two things. One, Fawn, did I give you Aaron Henry's assistant contact? I
I don't
have
know if
it. So
there
I will
is
make
there are two people that I'm writing to. One was a name that Aaron supplied to me, which I thought was the project manager. I want to say
okay.
his name was Matthew, but I'm not 100%
No.
sure.
So so I will pass this on. I got it when I met with HR to kind of talk through logistics for the commission.
Okay.
One of the questions was, how do we reach Erin Henry? And so she did give me the name of his assistant that I can pass on.
I think you did
And
give that to me actually, and I wonder if I reached out or maybe I dropped the ball. So I would appreciate you resending it.
yeah, absolutely. Um, and then the other thing was, one as far as like, giving the theme and guideline for the students, why don't we give them our vision, like our vision statement, and having that be the guide? So what does this look like if it were to be a piece of art on a crosswalk? Um, I think that, like, especially the middle part, that we envision a future where barriers are eliminated and people with disabilities have the freedom to pursue their goals and dreams without limitations and can access the resources they need to live authentically. We envision a community that values inclusivity and equity as cornerstones and provides support and resources for all residents to feel respected.
I think that's great.
It's
And
kind of big,
I think that's a great idea.
yeah, but maybe that's a great way to give them, true freedom and respect them as artists in this
Mhm.
situation. I think that's great, Christy. I'm wondering actually if we should talk to Mr. Surratt about giving that to them now.
Yeah.
Yeah, because then they could kind of submit ideas, and then they could vote on it potentially within their class.
Yeah, like maybe before the summer even, or like over the summer. I mean, we don't have a time frame, and I guess the risk of presenting it to the art department is that maybe this doesn't actually happen. It certainly sounds like like um, we have a strong likelihood of being engaged. I guess there's that possibility that we could find out that no, I'm sorry, you did all this design work and it's not going to happen. But I guess I would feel really more hopeful, I guess, and maybe it's just because I feel like we're not able to move forward and I'm feeling frustrated, just
Yeah.
spinning our wheels, and I feel like I can't do anything productive. But maybe that's a good idea. I don't know. Do you guys think that's jumping the gun?
No, I think that's a great
No.
idea.
I think it's always good to get that to start the ball
Mhm.
rolling. Absolutely.
Okay, then I will, if everyone feels good about that, I will plan on sending a statement of sorts to Mr. Surratt. I'll probably just be really upfront with him that we're still waiting on a definite timeline and design plan layout from the town, but we would, like to give this vision statement, mission statement to him and see if he feels it would be appropriate to have the art students start thinking about design options now.
And
Yeah,
maybe,
that's great.
I was,
Oh,
I think
sorry.
I was
it's
just
a
gonna
great
say,
idea.
go ahead. Sorry, we're all talking.
Here
I was
you
just
go
gonna say
first.
you could probably get like a standard crosswalk template and say this is kind of what is likely to be the size, and so that they can at least start kind of thinking about dimensions.
Okay.
What were you gonna
I
say,
was
Amy?
gonna I was gonna say as well, like, and let's pretend worst case scenario, this doesn't come to fruition, right? Worst case scenario, this design and this art, is there another place for it, right? Is there a mural? Is
I
there
was gonna,
another place?
yeah.
So I feel as though it's not something that would be lost. I think if it didn't come to fruition, it would be, where's the home for this?
Okay.
Yeah, I think
I
that's
was
great.
just gonna say the same thing. I think there's opportunity here for them to have design input and then sort of they create it and we figure out where it goes.
Okay.
Yeah, I think that's great, and I think being super transparent with them is just going to work to our advantage. Just letting
Always.
them know where it is, and then they have the info, so it's not like we're coming out of nowhere with this. It's kind of been built up. And I can't remember if I had presented this before, but I did have like kind of like a small idea for the mural, or not the mural, the crosswalk, which was like, people on all different modes of transportation or mobility assistance, be it, a bike or a wheelchair or whatever. But the people are maybe like carrots and onions, which are like what Danvers is like kind of famous for creating and kind of showing around the world. We have the Danvers carrot and the Danvers onion. So I don't know. That was just one of the ideas I
That's pretty creative, JD. I'm impressed.
had. Thanks.
I love the idea of like murals in our community and like thinking about like, are there buildings that are adjacent, maybe on private property, whatever, adjacent to the rail trail or adjacent to whatever that, this could be an opportunity for us to start to think about bigger.
Yeah, because then that would be
Mhm.
easy if we just like reached out to like a private business that was like, oh hell yeah, that thing is just an eyesore. Why not?
I'm not sure
And
what
they're
Western Cycle has right now. There's something on their wall, but
oh
that's
yeah,
like prime mural real estate right there.
you're right. You're right. I mean, that's right where the crosswalk would be too.
Yep.
How beautiful would that be in
That'd
all
be
of
sweet.
those?
Yeah.
And then there is I feel like there's a weird brick building. I'm like driving down the trail in my mind right now. It's like a weird brick building, like right before. Is it right before that? Or is it right before the dentist's office? I don't know. There's like this brick facade that has like some graffiti on it that I can picture in my head. That's like, oh,
Along the
that
rail
could be
trail?
like a good spot. Yeah.
Hmm.
It's, do you know where, like, you know how you go through like the dentist's parking lot
Yeah.
as part of the rail trail? I feel like it's like right before that.
Hmm.
Like on that side of the road, like if you're coming up with the dentist off on your left, it's right before that, I want to say. I don't
I
know.
feel
It's
like
been
these
a
are
bit
all
since I've been on.
houses, but I'm not sure.
Yeah,
I think we should totally put a mural on a house. I think that'd be awesome.
yeah.
We get it.
You just gotta pick the one with that's like not like totally blocked by all the trees.
Yeah.
There's somebody that lives near me that has a mural on their garage door, and I was like, yes, that's
cool.
amazing.
That's great.
Yeah, I had some friends
So
who would
in
do
this,
that in LA, actually. Sorry, what were you saying, Karen?
in this town, there is not an issue with having a painted mural because I came from a town where that was not permissible. In fact, had to be painted over when a private business did that on their um, wall.
Oh wow.
I'm sure we
So
probably would have to
it's
talk to the
something to do
town.
with about a certain, right. So if that's just the way we go, I just didn't know what flexibility there was, or if potentially we'd butt heads with whether that's permissible or not. That's all. Just hopefully we're going to do the crosswalk and work from there, but it's just a thought.
No,
You know,
that's a
that's
good
a
point.
great point. I will, as part of this, before I reach out to Mr. Surratt, I'll reach out to the town and find out if there's any rule by
Yeah,
town
it had
about
something to do with
mural
like a
art.
sign ordinance type of thing, and it fell under that or something. But
I hope not, because that's lame, but I will look into
yeah,
it.
I agree. I agree.
It was actually like a mural of like with like a lot of nudity, and that was the real reason.
No, actually, it was a hair salon that had done it, and it was a big, beautiful side profile of a woman with really curly hair, and they had to paint over it.
Oh wow.
That's
Yeah,
such a
Come on.
waste.
Come on.
Come on is right.
right.
All right, I'll look into that. Thank you, Karen. That's a good point.
All right, cool. So we kind of talked about the mural potentiality, the crosswalk. We're going to send the statement over to the Mr. Surratt. And we talked about the questions. Anything else we need to cover on the crosswalk mural?
Not that I'm aware of, but if anyone thinks of anything, please reach out.
Yeah,
I
totally.
appreciate it.
All right, so moving on, we have my update on Seen and Heard. So I just did a really interesting episode with a great individual um, who talked a lot about lipedema and lymphedema. So that was actually, I don't know, I learned a lot actually from that because I didn't really know much about lipedema or lymphedema at all. And then just kind of seeing the parallels between some of her stuff and what I deal with my disability and like as far as how you kind of run into roadblocks of medicine feeling very, like not collaborative. Um, and so that was kind of interesting. So I'm putting clips of that up right now. That's live on YouTube on both the DCAT page and the Seen and Heard page. And then next week we are working on an interview with Gardner Trask from the select, well, formerly from the select board and hopefully again. So that'll be interesting. I'm trying to plan some things for the summer, like maybe doing that one I had mentioned a while ago where I kind of set up a spot in downtown where people can kind of like ask me questions on camera, almost like a simplified, soft version of the human library type thing. So that would be something when it gets a little more consistently warmer. I'll probably bring that up at one of the meetings, and we can kind of talk about kind of the setup and logistics for that. But I think that could be pretty interesting for downtown as like a sort of mini attraction. But other than that, just hunting for guests right now. I'll probably start reaching a little wider than the town, maybe pull some people from the gym I go to, just to get them on there to share their perspective, and to just keep the show kind of moving. But I don't know if anybody else had any thoughts on Seen or Heard or any guest ideas, but I'm always open to them.
I saw one of the clips from the recent one. It was really interesting.
Yeah, she was very smart. She's an ombudsman, which I had heard that term before, but I never really knew what it was. But it's kind of like someone who just knows a lot about the area and can help with all kinds of stuff in the area. Um, and she actually does trainings for it if anyone's ever interested. So you want to be a local ombudsman? I got a hookup for you.
Very cool.
But all right, so moving on, we've got, oh yeah, so this next one I kind of wanted, this came up at our last meeting, but just the idea of our length of time for the chair and vice chair positions and kind of how we feel about that. Like, what would be a length of time that would make these positions more attractive to you guys, or like easier to want to take up because you're not like locked down for a year or multiple years with it. So yeah, I just want to hear some of your thoughts, like if we were to make the tenure 3 months or something like that.
I just feel like I can't sit here in silence. I don't have anything great to say, but it just feels wrong. Just for me personally, I feel like because I'm on another commission, it just feels like a lot to take on, even if it ends up being very manageable. So that's the source of my hesitancy.
Gotcha. I mean, it's very valid. I mean, yeah, because essentially, if you take up the mantle of the vice chair, you're in line to be the next chair. So that automatically kind of like combines those tenures together.
I mean,
Does it
don't
have
have to do
though?
it that it doesn't have to.
Oh, it doesn't have to? Okay.
No, we don't have any rules because the town never gave us the bylaws and told us we couldn't have our own bylaws. So
Oh,
we
oh yeah.
originally, like came up, I thought that would be a great way for me to not have to be chair forever. So, but there's no rules.
Oh, okay.
We could
So I
do
mean,
this for a while and then see who else wants to be chair when you're ready.
oh, okay. Yeah, because I guess you don't really need a vice chair, right? No, it's
Not
not really.
necessarily.
Okay, all right. So as long as it's not something that's actually
Not if we're
problematic.
not using it as a successor.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, then I guess in that case, I'm kind of cool with leaving it as it is for now. I mean, I'll let you guys know if I feel like tapping out at some point, but right now I'm all right.
Sounds
I'm
good.
still getting the hang of it, clearly. But
You're doing
I guess
great.
that. Thank you. I
Yeah,
guess
no rules.
that's that for that, and then all right, on to new business, I guess. Christy, I know there was something you had mentioned, and then Shilpa sent us that thing
Yes.
the other day.
Yes, I have all of her stuff. And then we talked about the note taking thing. I think that's what you might have been.
Oh yes, that was the
Yeah.
other thing.
Okay, so I sent JD the minutes, that Fawn typed up very lovely and we got them all done. And then JD had this brilliant idea of like, well, why aren't we using tools that can, record and create a transcript? I was like, well, could be really interesting, but obviously would need to go to a vote. There are things that connect into virtual meetings like Otter AI, a couple other ones that we could do. The other thing is recordings can be run through other apps, like even Microsoft Word has the ability to run things through it and it'll create a transcript. So there's that as an option. If people know of other tools, we can consider them. Or we continue to rotate and have people take minutes.
I mean,
I love the idea of using technology because I think it demonstrates accessibility, right? And I think that it is something that should be more normalized.
will anyone feel like they're being deprived of having the ability to take minutes if we do that?
No, but I would just like to mention that a transcript of these meetings will probably be about 5 times as long
You're right.
as minutes. And so I guess I'm thinking from an accessibility point, for someone who wants to read them, that's just a lot more to go through. I'm not sure that this is a major point to raise, but I do think the volume that's going to be generated from a pure transcript is going to be larger. I don't know if that matters.
You can run that transcript through AI though, and then you can modify it for reading level. You can modify it for text and readability. There's a lot of options that can happen from that as well, if that's something that we do want to lean into, because I agree with you. There is a place that has to do with that length and the way that people speak. So I agree.
Peggy, did you?
Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
Peggy, did you want to chime in?
Yes, my doctor's office is now using an AI program that doesn't take everything verbatim, but it does summarize. And then I review afterwards and make sure that if I said something that I really don't want to be in my medical records, I can ask them to delete it immediately. But it exactly what you're saying, Amy, it doesn't take it verbatim, it summarizes. Thank you.
Oh, yeah, that's interesting. I mean, that's pretty much what I was thinking, because we can easily take that transcript. That was a good point, Fawn. But we can definitely take that transcript and have it like kind of simplified and summarized. No problem, with like really no skin off our back.
That's great. I think there probably would still be, and correct me if I'm wrong, there probably would still be a role after each meeting for someone to carefully look at it and make sure that it's an accurate representation of what was said and what was discussed.
Yeah, there'll definitely be onboarding.
Well, and that also is part of what we do at the beginning of the meeting, which is do we accept the minutes? Because in those moments, if there was an error, like, oh, actually, we didn't talk about that, or that's not the decision that we made, that's a time that we can to correct the minutes and then approve them at the next meeting.
Sounds good.
I guess, yeah, it gives us a reason to be more accountable about the minutes too.
I can speak from my standpoint too. Like I'm always happy to do that, but for the way that my brain works, it's really hard for me to attend to the conversation and be able to switch to be able to record what everyone else is saying. And so, those tools that I think about when I went to college that were not available to me, that are available to students now, is like amazing, and really changes the whole game. So I think it's really exciting that we're having this discussion.
Yeah, it is really wild how much the landscape has completely shifted. But yeah, I mean, I'll do some research into that. I think I've got a couple lined up. You named a couple, Christy. So I think it's just maybe we can have like a little contest between them. We run the transcript through 3 of them, then have it summarized and kind of pick which one, carried our voices the best, essentially.
That's a good idea.
Sounds good.
So should we take a vote about everyone being comfortable with us running the transcript through that and having that done? So, can I just call the vote right now?
So you need a motion
Okay.
and a second. So I'll
Okay.
motion that we vote that we are comfortable with testing AI tools for accessibility minutes. Accessible
Do we have a
minutes.
second?
I second.
I do. Sorry,
Okay,
you can't
cool.
see me, but I'm saying yes.
All
Speaking of
right.
technology.
So, all in favor of using technology to alleviate us from having to manually do the minutes? Say aye or raise your hand.
Aye.
Aye. Cool.
Aye.
All right, sounds good.
Okay. So I had the other two are just pieces of information that don't need discussion. Shilpa and Jacoby, who works at the library, has been really fantastic in sending us information about accessibility and disability uh, information and tools and resources. And so one is the ARC of Massachusetts has a program called Pathways to Inclusion, and they had a training with the Mass Board of Library Commissioners last week. But out of that came a list of kind of some resources, but then also information that the next Metro Northeast inclusion meeting is April 3rd at 10 a.m. And so if anybody's, I will put that in the minutes, but if anybody's interested in it, we can get you the link to that. And that is all about kind of creating friendships between people with disabilities and people without disabilities in a way that is, very like, real friendships so that people feel more comfortable interacting with both communities. And then the other is that the Boston Public Library is doing a disability outreach tour on Tuesday, April 8th at their central branch but from 3 to 5 p.m. And I have that information that I can link in the minutes as well. So, or maybe I'll even just forward all that out to everybody and BCCU because we won't be approving the minutes until after these meetings happen, but I can share those with you.
Cool. Yeah, and I have the ARC stuff from and the Pathways stuff from Shilpa.
Mm-hmm.
All right.
I have one other thing that I probably should have sent, not even probably, I should have sent to you guys sooner. If I can just add one new opportunity, it is rather short notice. The Human Library is announcing that they're bringing back their free public online events, and they got a grant, I guess, to do it. You can still sign up and register. It is this Sunday. So if you would like to participate, I have a link that I can send to wherever is appropriate. Not all people will be chosen to participate as books, but they are welcoming volunteers to participate.
Awesome. Yeah, you could send that out to the group with as long as you BCC us or we don't reply.
Okay.
That should be perfect. That's great news.
Apologies for not sending that sooner, but I'll send that right now.
That was the other one, JD. There also is a Duxbury Library is doing a Human Library event.
Okay. I was like,
Yes.
I knew there was another Human Library thing.
Yep, trying to type it. And it's this Saturday. So March 29th.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm actually planning to go. You're talking about Roxbury, right?
No, Duxbury.
Oh, I had written down Roxbury. There is one from 1 to 4 this Saturday. I am planning to try to attend.
Awesome.
Oh, in Roxbury. That's
what I wrote down, but that sounds an awful lot like Duxbury, so I'm wondering.
That is true. That is true. It's only 2 letters off.
I should probably check because they're not close.
Yeah, because I was like, Roxbury, that's a lot more doable.
Yeah.
Duxbury is very far. And then I'd have to visit my sister and
The whole thing.
Sorry, what were you gonna say, Amy?
I have something that somebody sent to me that I was going to read. It's a little piece of correspondence.
Yeah.
So I had a conversation with somebody who lives in town, and she wanted to come to our meeting tonight, but unfortunately had a conflict. So she typed something up for me. to share with everybody that I just wanted to read. So this is from Leah Barnes, and she writes, "Hello, and thank you for allowing me the opportunity to bring awareness about World Down Syndrome Day and why we rock your socks. Each year on March 21st, 321, we celebrate and bring awareness by wearing brightly colored and or mismatched socks. Some may wonder why March 21st and why socks. We celebrate on 321 because people with Down syndrome have 3 copies of their 21st chromosome. We wear socks because up close the chromosomes kind of look like colorful patterned socks. For 2 years now, I have shared a flyer that Superintendent Dan Bauer has kindly sent out district-wide. We'd love for everyone in the schools and around town to help share in this cool way of honoring people living with Down syndrome. I also spread the word on my social media platforms and ask that people post and tag me in their photos. It's so fun to see and experience the many people of Danvers supporting our son Otto and all those that are living with extra chromosome. Be on the lookout each year in March as we start reminding everyone about this awesome celebration. Thank you for your time, and a special thank you to Amy for speaking on my behalf as I had a previous commitment and was not able to attend the Accessibility Commission meeting this evening."
That was great.
Yeah, it's great.
So 321.
321.
Colorful socks. Or I'll mark my calendar.
Colorful mismatch. Lots of people wear mismatched socks too,
Nice.
which is really cool. And then one other thing that kind of came across my desk earlier this week is that PBS has a documentary that they are airing as part of their American Experience series. It's a film called Change Not Charity, the Americans with Disabilities Act. And it first aired 2 days ago. But it tells the emotional and dramatic story of the decades-long push for equality and accessibilities that culminated in the passage of the Americans with Disabilities Act in 1990. So if you go to the PBS site as well, there's information about when it's going to show next. And then there are different clips, from different aspects of the movement. And so just wanted to share that with everybody. It's pretty cool. There's a couple articles, and recently was the 35th anniversary of the Capitol Crawl. And so there's an article in there as well regarding that. So
That's great. Well, thanks for sharing that, Amy. Is there any other new business? Peggy, since this is your first meeting you're attending, do you mind introducing yourself? Okay.
Yeah. Hi. Actually, I've been to a couple others virtually and sometimes in person as well, JD. But thank you so much. So I'm Peggy Coyne, and I live here in Danvers, and very for my entire life, I've been very connected to the disability community through personal and professional uh, um, experiences. And so I was very excited when this commission started, and just love hearing all the wonderful ideas that are being shared here. So I'll continue to come as often as I can. And I'm a neighbor of Christie's. So, and I also know Fawn. So, and Maura, I've met Maura, and anyway, and I'm hopefully about to start some volunteer work at Northeast Arc, which I'm very excited about.
Yay.
So,
yay.
yeah, thank you. I was able to go to the library conversations, which I thought were awesome. And so, anyway, I'm available to volunteer. So, anything I can help with, please reach out. Thank you.
That's great. Thanks for attending, Peggy. We're happy to have you here.
Thanks, Peggy.
Well, with that, do we have a motion to adjourn the meeting?
Yes.
Okay, motion to adjourn from Amy.
Yes.
Do we have a second? Second from Mara. All right, all in
Yes.
favor of
Yep.
adjourning? Sorry, what were you saying, Mara?
Oh, no, I didn't say anything. I said,
Oh, okay,
yes.
okay. All right, so all in favor of adjourning tonight's accessibility commission meeting, say aye or raise your hand.
Aye.
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 All
Aye.
right. So we are officially off.